My attitude at WorkTripe has been, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll figure it out. Most of the stuff here I've gone into not having a lot of experience and just worked my way through and struggled through it. And that's kind of, I think, how I developed kind of the scrappy mentality of figuring it out. Hi, I'm Jake Dovel. I'm a design engineer for WorkTripe. Design engineering means developing a product from an idea, from a piece of paper into a 3D reality, something that someone can use and to accomplish something they need to do that day. When I first started at WorkTripe, I started off as an intern just for a summer 3-month program straight out of high school. When my internship was supposed to end, they basically just kept me around. And from there, I just keep growing and growing and taking on my own projects bigger and bigger as they kind of hand them to me. A lot of it came from my dad, who's been a design engineer for WorkTripe for 22, 23 years now. And today, I'm full on now machining prototypes, just developing my skills. As a kid, I was pretty hands-on. I spent a lot of time hanging out with my dad in the shop and just taking apart cars or seeing what he was working on. I'm just seeing how he approached different problems or how he approached life with the thought of we can make something ourselves or we can fix something that's broken rather than buy something new. And that's kind of where I think I started and what has grown in me into where I am today. We're in my home shop right now, built in the 70s. It's full of holes, it leaks, it's cold. That's a place I like to spend a lot of my time. Building stuff, making prototypes for work or working on personal projects like the Stout here in the background. Just tinkering away when I have my free time. What we got here is a 76 Scout I've been slowly restoring in my spare time. I inherited it from my dad, who bought it when I was a little kid, and we have a LQ9 from an 05 Escalade I'm swapping in here, just overall improve the experience of the truck. And then over here is the other side of the Stout, that I've been piecing together, making the body fit better, cutting out all the holes where there is rust, and eventually replacing with new panels where there isn't rust. I'm about 3 years in, casually working on nights and weekends when I have the time. Got into working on cars through my dad. He had a 69 Firebird when I was a little kid, and I just grew up in the shop fixing it with him, and then it's just stuck with me my whole life, and now I'm fixing my own cars, and he comes over to my shop to help me. So we've really gone full circle, and it's just a fun time to see them go from rusty to back on the road. Developing sharpeners, the challenge is often from the 2D, Word document of what we want to what we actually end up with is vastly different. What was an idea that we thought would make a cool product, and then we make one and we realize it really doesn't work as well. It isn't as cool as we thought it was going to be, and then we kind of shift directions. Oftentimes I find that it's actually the other way around, where I don't like something on the screen and then I get it in my hands and it changes my mind that, oh, this is actually cooler than I thought it was and I should still work on it. The design process really starts with what the consumer wants, and then other times it's straight from my brain of we find that people are missing this thing in their life, or it's something that I'm missing in my life. So we'll start with a simple 2D sketching, drawing on a whiteboard. Further on, we'll progress from 2D to 3D. We'll start design something in CAD, try to get proportions, start to figure out functionality, and then move into 3D printing to have something in your hand to physically test, to have other people test. From 3D printing, usually to go one step further into machining or stamping or laser cutting or whatever process you need to make the part in a more real state. And then you go through that process again of testing, getting consumer feedback, and iterating. And then it's kind of that same circle over and over, and then you kind of arrive at the product, and then that gets delivered to a different team who takes that product and figures out how to get it to the right customer and sell it to the right customer. So for work, I've actually been putting together this CNC mill. This is just a way for us to quickly make prototypes out of metal. This is by no means a super state-of-the-art or high-tech machine. I actually assembled it myself here in the last summer. It's just a sheet metal base full of concrete and epoxy, and then you kind of bolt together the rest of it yourself. Really adds to kind of the low budget and scrappy, make it work aesthetic I got going here. In this machine, I'm usually machining prototypes, or one-off models of early concepts for us to test, get in people's hands, see how they like, or frankly even try to break them just to see how they're going to fail, with the goal of making the best possible, product in the real way in the end. This is just kind of a very early step to get into that point. We go through quite a bit of iterations, usually no less than a dozen. A lot of times that's both changing the design of the product and actually changing how we want to machine it. There's a skill itself in learning how to actually do the machining, what's best for the product, or you actually end up changing the product design to meet how you want to CNC it. So it's kind of the ebb and flow back and forth of where you want to optimize it the most versus figure it out on the back end. Being able to CNC and create stuff in real materials allows us to kind of get a much more real answer than if we were to hand someone, something that's 3D printed or more homemade. Yeah, it's been a learning experience, basically trying to figure out both how to use CAM to design the machine parts and then put them in the machine and then see the reality of the design to see what aspects of it are even possible to machine and what things are like too difficult to machine. Some things are easier than they seem, and others are like a lot harder than they seem they should be. So it's been a learning experience. The fun thing for me is the process of taking it from a 2D model or something on the screen to the reality, be able to feel it in your hand and be able to test it is really fun. The other fun part is being able to hand it to other people and see how they react. My favorite reaction is when you give them a prototype and they won't give it back. That's a really good sign in product development when you develop a prototype and whoever you're testing it with won't hand it over. That's kind of my sign that I'm on the right track. Yeah, so these are examples of just halfway done prototypes of the knife in different materials. Again, this is just part of the design process of just trying out what works and what doesn't, messing with composites or aluminums or even fancier stuff. What I would say to people who want to get started on something but maybe are afraid to is just to jump in. Get started, make a move that you can't move back from, and then it kind of sets the bar for how to move forward and not move backwards and force yourself to learn these new skills is that have no way to not learn them. Once you're this far, you're kind of committed. I can't go back now. There's no going back from this. That's how I get started. You make a choice, you regret it, and then you move forward anyway, because you don't have another option.